And I always got to make sure she's got her PowerPoint set up, and I don't want her to. She is so skittish about speaking in front of ladies that I want everything to go smoothly for her. So I'm thankful for you fellas and grateful for your interest. Well, for elders, this is normally, for church leaders, their favorite session because we're going to put it all together. We're going to give you the nuts and bolts. I'm going to try to give you a plan. In fact, this is what we consider our advanced lesson. I've got a series of 6 advanced lessons I do with churches normally when I come back and if they want me to come back. And this is the first of those lessons. This is the nuts and bolts, putting them together. We're going to make this real. We're going to make it work. In fact, the Winston Churchill model is he who fails to plan is planning to fail. And a lot of us have no plan when it comes to evangelism. We're shooting in the dark. We have no strategy. We have no target. We have no method. So no wonder we're not effective. And if you went to work and at work you had no strategy for success, you had no target audience, you had no method for delivery, you'd be in bankruptcy. Well, the truth of the matter is we got a lot of bankrupt churches. Churches are bankrupt because they don't have the essential ingredients for success. And if most if most businesses were run like churches, we'd be in a very difficult spot. And I'm not trying to tell you this afternoon the church is a business. What I'm trying to suggest is that we can learn a lot from success in a business model that can apply right to churches. And so we're going to take a plan. I'm going to give it to you, and I hope this will be something you can use. First step, I'm going to give you 10 steps, 10 things you can do to be successful. In fact, if you're visiting from an area church, will you raise your hand if you're from an area congregation? We've got some folders. I want to make sure every congregation gets a folder. So if there's more than one here from a congregation, we may not have enough. So if just make sure one person from each church gets it. And so raise your hand, and we'll be glad to provide that for you. If you can share, that will help us out a lot. This is going to, and for the elders at Dunlap, we're going to give you this in my private session. I'm going to give you a lot more than this. You are now enrolled, by the way, in the house-to-house school of evangelism. That involves 18 months of service. For the first 6 months prior to this, our team at House-to-House School of Evangelism is working very hard. We did an extensive advertising and promotion campaign. Some of you got some big folders in the mail that provided you all the material. And we followed it up with a massive media blitz and a social media blitz. And so we work with churches. We try to get them ready. You guys have done an excellent job here at Dunlap. But here's the good news. When I leave, we're not going to leave you without technical support. So we're not going to give you a product and then say, good luck, sink or swim. We're going to be here for you. For the next 12 months, our phone is directly connected to you. You can call us. We will give you guidance. In fact, not only that, we're going to send you reports and ask you to send us reports about where you are in this process. We have a plan. We placed together a model that works. Now, when I was at Willette, I had people tell me this, Rob, it works at Willette, but it wouldn't work here. And I wanted to dispel that rumor. I wanted to dispel that thinking. So I said to myself, I'm going to move my family. We moved all the way down to Jacksonville, Alabama. And I set the same model up in Jacksonville, Alabama, as I set up in Willette. And you know what we've discovered? It works. It doesn't matter where you live, who you are, it works. And so what I'm going to give you is a 10-step process. This is what I've done at Willette. This is what I've done at Jacksonville. And they're simple, common sense steps that a lot of churches are not doing. Now, you may be doing some of these. God bless you if you are. If you're not doing these, you can start today. So let's go ahead and begin. Step number 1. If I was going to set this up in a church, the first thing I would ask the elders, the first thing I'd ask the church is, do you have the tools necessary to conduct a personal Bible study? Do your members have the equipment they need to conduct a personal Bible study? Brothers, if you don't have the tools, you can't do the job. Let's say you were going to build a shop and you saw an advertisement in the newspaper. We build shops. You called the number. They said, we'll be there Monday morning to get started. You signed the contract, and the guy shows up, and he shows up in a Volkswagen. He's got shorts on and a T-shirt. Looks like he's from the surf of California. and he knocks on your door. He says, hey, buddy, I'm here to build your shop. You look at him and you say, this doesn't look good. But anyway, you say, yes, sir, you got a hammer? Hammer? Yeah, don't you have a hammer? No, don't have one. Yeah, I've got one out in my garage. Hey, got a drill? Drill? Yeah, do you not have a drill? No, don't have a drill. Got a saw, buddy? Do you have anything? How many of us would just fire the man before he even begins? If you don't have the tools to do the job, you can't do the job. We have to have the tools. So what do you need to have a church do evangelism? You got to have the materials. You got to have materials like Back to the Bible, Fishers of Men, Open Bible Study, Searching. I don't care what it is. I'm not here to try to sell a method. I'm here to try to get you to get a method. And so if you got one and it's working, here's my suggestion. Keep using it. If you don't have a method, get one. Make sure you equip the church with the tools they need to do the job. And there's going to be someone, they're going to be watching the money, and they're going to say, oh, I just don't know. This could be expensive. But you know what? If we run out of plastic forks and spoons in the fellowship hall, we never have a meeting about buying them. We go buy them. If we need another table to eat on, if we need a tablecloth, if the ladies say their refrigerator's broken down, we'll spare no expense. We'll make sure we have all of it. But we need Bibles. You need Bibles to have a Bible study. And you should have them. You should have, there should be Bibles. There should be Bible study materials. There should be training manuals. There should be the one study method. There should be DVDs, Searching for Truth. There ought to be books like Muscle and a Shovel. You can't expect the members to do the work if they don't have the tools. You can't ring them up without a cash register. You can't scan the groceries without a scanner. And brethren, these are things that we would begin, if we were going to open up and be successful, we'd start with this. And we'll have brethren get upset over something that costs $1. But yet we're going to spend hundreds of dollars on plastic silverware. We'll spend thousands of dollars renovating a fellowship hall. I mean, I've seen churches, $3 million. I was at a church. Preacher said we spent $3 million at this building. $3 million. He says, now listen, Rob. He said, we've got the facilities. This is the elders. He said, we've got the facilities. We've got the members. Rob, now help us use it. I was grateful for the attitude. Here's the bottom line. Brethren, we have everything we need to do this. There's no reason why we can't have Bibles, Muscles and a Shovel, or Transform Reborn, whatever you want to use, and whatever tool it is. So here's step number one. Make sure your church has the tools. It's easy. It's simple. And that's why we provide them, or you can get them somewhere else. Number two, put them in a place where people can get them. I walked into a church, and I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to embarrass anybody. I went up to the elder. I said, brother, where's your evangelism materials? He said, oh, we've got those. I said, where are they? He said, they're in the elder's office. I said, where are they in the elder's office? He said, they're in the locker, and we keep it locked. I said, why do you keep it locked? He said, we're afraid someone might get them. I said, someone might get them? I said, well, of course we want somebody to get them. He said, did I just say that? And I said, yes, you did. He said, brother, here's where most evangelism materials are. Most evangelism materials are in a closet. They're in a library. They're locked away. They're in the preacher's office. No one can get to it. Why are we hiding evangelism materials? Get them out on the table and let as many people get them as possible. In fact, here's what I would suggest. You guys have just built this new little entry area, that table area. This is great. There is not a better place to put evangelism materials than that. You know why? Because when everybody walks in, they have to see it. You ought to put your evangelism materials where people stumble over it to get to it. I had a preacher recently. He said, Rob, he said, man, I've done everything you said. He said, let me show you something. He takes me into a room off the foyer, and in the room there's a table with evangelism materials. They had all of it. He said, Rob, they won't let me put it in the foyer. He said, so I got up in the pulpit and I preached my heart out about how we need to pick up these materials and use these materials. And then I went back to the foyer and I stood by the door. He said, you know how many people went in the room to get the materials? No one. Brethren, if you don't put it in front of their face, they're not going to use it. You got to put it right in front. It's the most important thing you're doing. I had a preacher tell me, he said, hey, Rob, he said, we got the materials. He said, I put it out in the foyer. He said, went back the next day, and it was gone. I said, gone? Where'd it go? He says, I don't know. He said, I put it out again. I had more. I put it out again. Went back the next day. It was gone again. He said, well, I knew something was going on. I called one of the elders. I said, brother, what's going on with the evangelism materials? He says, well, my wife says it doesn't really match the decor. It looks kind of gaudy. So we're going to place it back in the library, back where everything else that doesn't get used goes. Brethren, when evangelism materials don't match the decor and we can't put it in the foyer, why don't we just sell the building and go home? That's the whole purpose of why we're here. But I know right now, you say, oh, Rob, that's an anomaly. I've had 3 churches tell me that in 6 months. I'd named them, but I don't want to embarrass them. The first time I heard that, I laughed. I said, you're kidding me. I can't think of a church that wouldn't put evangelism materials out because it doesn't match the decor. I've had 3 preachers tell me that in the last 6 months. No wonder some of our brethren don't believe in church buildings. I mean, we treat the church building like a shrine. This is a building. This ought to be utilized and used for tools to teach the gospel. And if we can't place them out there, then that's pitiful. And so I want to suggest we get the materials and then put it where brethren can get to them. Allow brethren to pick them up. Make sure they can identify them. And I think that's so basic. But yet it's so real. Do you know how many churches last year I walked into and they had evangelism materials in a place where brethren could get them? I went to 30 churches last year. Do you know how many of them I found that did that? 1. 1 church in 30 had evangelism materials purchased and had in place where I can get it. Now this year, I've seen 2, and one of the preachers said, oh, Rob, we did this. The elders heard your lesson. They didn't want to be embarrassed. So they just threw them out there real quick. And I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. He said, they just threw them out there real quick. They didn't want you to get on them. And he said, Rob, preach to them. And I said, I will, don't worry. Look at number 3. Can you imagine spending, I know Brother Grace here, he has some grocery store, so I'm going to use you as an example. Can you imagine spending all this money on equipment like scanners and cash registers and various other technological equipment to make your business run effectively, and you hire people and you just stick them back there. No training whatsoever. Don't train them how to unlock the system. Don't train them how to scan it. Would you ever do that? Brother, why is it that we get the materials and don't train people how to use it? Why is it that we don't? Why is it that we send men and we spend tens of thousands of dollars on our young men to teach them how to preach? Why won't we train our church members how to do a Bible study? That's the most fundamental, basic thing we can do as a church. Here's my suggestion. Would you put Brother Clayton in the pulpit on a Sunday night, and for the next 9 or 10 weeks, 12 weeks, however long it takes him, hand out back to the Bible to every church member. And you say, well, what about the children? Give it to the children. I can't think of a better thing for them to do than fill out back to the Bible. And by the way, you may be surprised. You may have some baptisms. You just watch what will happen. You have every person fill it out. Average 3 Sundays per lesson. Lesson 3 may take you 4. I will give you my PowerPoints. I will give you everything you need because you're enrolled in the school. I'll give it to you. And you take this whole church, you pass those out, and don't do it on Sunday morning when in Bible class when your teachers that should be, you need those teachers. Don't do it on Wednesday night. Do it on Sunday night when the brethren are, when the core group is sitting in the pews. Take your church through that. You're going to reinforce the fundamentals. I had a preacher. I was down in Georgia. He came in to me. The director of the School of Preaching came up to me and said, Rob, I know who that is. I am shocked he is here. He explained to me about the church he preached. They had gone off the reservation. He came to me and he said, Rob, he says, I don't know if he's here to harass you. I don't know why he's here. So, it's one of those things you keep your eye on him the whole time. I'm watching. He's paying very close attention. Did the entire seminar. I did what I call the advanced seminar. I went through the booklets question by question. He comes up to me after. He says, I need to speak to you. He pulls me aside. He said, preacher, I'm ashamed of myself. He said, my church members don't even know these fundamentals in this book because I haven't taught them in years. He said, when I get back to the church, I'm going to teach the fundamentals again. I think sometimes we become too nuanced in our pulpits. You know what Paul told Timothy? Put the brethren in remembrance. Don't let them forget the basics. And so these basics are essential. Take your church through it. Teach them so they can train them so they can teach others. You know, a hammer in the hands of a carpenter is an amazing tool, isn't it? It's a dangerous weapon in my hands because I haven't been trained how to use it. I remember we did an addition once to the church, and they said, "Preacher, you come up. You know, it's time for you to come up and help." I said, "Man, I'll be there." I found a tool belt. I was good. I put the tool belt. I didn't know where to put the tools, but I had them all. And I got up there and said, "Where do you want me to start?" And they said, "Right over here. Hang this sheetrock." They said they were holding the sheetrock. I took my hammer, wham! I went right through the sheetrock. They said, "Preacher, this isn't really for you here. Where's the mud? Where's the mud, everybody?" And they taught me how to use the hammer, though. You know, I can hang sheetrock today. I can even frame a house. But somebody taught me how to do it. Train your church members how to do Bible studies, and they might just do one. You know, Cliff Goodwin's a good friend, and our families have done some vacationing together. I love their family, and he asked me to come do this at Ironton, and I did. And he calls me not long ago, and he sends me a report, all these baptisms are happening. I said, "Cliff, you're doing a great job." He says, "It's not me, Rob." He says, "We trained our church members, and our church members are doing Bible studies." That's what you need. Your preacher needs help. And you can do it. You can help him. You can work together. Train your church. Number 4, real quick. We've got to promote an evangelistic atmosphere in the local church. We need to be a magnet for the local community. Promote evangelism. Well, how do you do that? Let me give you one way that it's what's God ordained. Brethren, it is high past time that we take our benevolent programs and make them evangelistic. You know, for most churches, benevolence is an albatross around the neck. I know this because I've worked with elders for 20-some years, and I know how it goes. You know, you're going to pay a light bill. You're never going to see him again. You're going to pay a gas bill. You'll never hear from him again. You're going to take them down, put fuel in their car. You never see them again. You're going to give them some groceries, and then they're going to go to the next church and get more groceries. And then they're going to go to the next church and get more groceries. And you get so fed up with it, and you get so frustrated with it. Brother, benevolence should be evangelistic. Can I share with you how you might do that? I asked the elders, I said, "Brethren," I said, "I need you to trust me." They said, "Rob, we trust you." I said, "Well, I need access to church funds. I need to be able to use benevolence. I need to be able to use it in a snap of a finger. We can't have elders meetings and men's meetings. It takes too long. When people call me on the phone and need help, I need you to give me a little rope. If you'll do that, I'll produce baptisms for you." I said, "Well, go ahead. You just don't go buy a house." And I said, "I promise I won't buy a house." And so I started, every time someone would call me, I said, "We'll be glad to help. Where do you want to meet? When do you want to meet? How about you meet Wednesday night?" "Oh, I don't know that we can meet Wednesday night." "Well, if you want help, you'll meet Wednesday night. In fact, you probably need to come at 7. 7? I said, "Yeah, at 7 o'clock, that's when we do our benevolent help." "Well, I don't know if I can make it." "Well, if you want help, you'll be there at 7. And I'll meet with you right after services. And they're going to have a Bible study. We're going to sit through Bible study. And then I'm going to meet with them. And I'm going to tie it to evangelism. And yes, I'll be willing to help them. But they're going to sit through a Bible study. We're going to make a connection. I'm going to be able to feel them out. You know what I found out? All these people kept calling me. They don't call me anymore. And what I started to find is genuine people that needed help. Let me show you. Remember Acts 2:47, the favor of the people? Let me share with you how this works. Her name is Kim. And Kim got the house-to-house publication, calls up to the church, said, "Listen," she says, "I've just got here." She says, I'm in a pretty bad shape, and I need some help, and I'd like to come to church." And they said, "Well, man, we'll be glad to pick you up." And so I sent Deborah Rice, one of the secretaries. She's a member at Jacksonville, and Deborah went to get her and brought her to church and took her home. And she said, "Man, Rob, she's in pretty bad shape." I said, "Well, we'll go visit with Kim." So we started to visit with Kim, and we learned that Kim needs some help. And so we took her. We actually took her to the grocery store and said, now, Kim, what do you need? And she says, well, I could use some groceries. I said, well, put them in the cart. We're watching what she puts in the cart, and we take her to the register. We get what she needs and check her out, and we take her back to church. And then I said, Kim, would it be okay for us to come over and talk to you about the Jesus for a little while? Oh, yes. What were the odds that she would have said no? She's not going to say no. She's going to say yes because she has seen your love. She has received it. So we go over to her house. In fact, we took her over to the church building that day, and we just gathered around a table. And I passed out back to the Bible. I said I just so happened to have these booklets, and we passed them out. And we went through lesson 1. I noticed when Kim read the Bible, this is Kim. Kim, you got problems seeing the Bible? She says, yeah. Rob, I can't see. I need glasses. I just can't afford them. I said, Kim, where would you get the glasses? She says, well, American Eyeglass down the road said for $200 to give me 2 pairs. They'll give me an eye test. I said, well, that's a good deal. She said, I don't have $200. I said, Kim, make your appointment and we'll take you. But Rob, I don't have $200. I said, it doesn't matter. Nicole got in the car, took her down to American Eyeglass, got her glasses. Now she's doing lesson 2. She walks through lesson 2, and she does the lesson. She's doing well. She's going to services back and forth. She says, Rob, she says, I need help. I don't know how to manage money. She said, I've never been on my own like this. My parents have passed away. My children are out. And I said, Kim, why don't we sit down and help you? You know, the Bible teaches us how to do that, to pay our debts. And it's all Christian principles. They're sitting right there in the Bible. I said, well, listen. So we worked her out a budget and helped her. Today, Kim is a faithful Christian. She has no money. She doesn't have problems. She worked within her budget. She never misses a service. She's in our new converts class. That's how you combine benevolence with evangelism. Let me show you some other things. We need a before I leave that, let me give you 2 other things you can do. Number 1, trust your preacher. Give him authorization without you don't have to have a men's meeting for him to help somebody. Just give him some rope. Number 2, why not enlist the help of your church members in benevolence? Stephen Rogers told me years ago. He preaches up at Washington Avenue in Evansville. He said, Rob, he says the best thing we ever did. He served as an elder, preached there for 30 years. He said the best thing we ever did at this church is empower the church members in evangelism and benevolence. We combined them. I said, I don't understand. What'd you do? He said, we made an announcement. We said every member of this church has a voucher in the office for $100. He says, if you're a family of 4, you have a voucher for $400. I said, what does that mean? He said, you know people we don't know. See, we meet vagrants. Brother Clayton and I meet vagrants as they go through the town. But you know people that need help. You work with them. You live with them. You've known them all your life. And you know people that need help. And so what you can do as a church member, you can go to that person and say, hey, we probably can help you. Can we help you? Well, why don't we sit down? Why don't you come over to the house and we'll visit, and I'll see what we can do. The church, we like to help people in need. He said, Rob, we did that. Now we have it up to $300 per member. He said it's grown every year. He said we have church members bringing family, bringing co-workers, bringing members of the community, using their voucher to help them. He says, we know when we get phone calls, we say, I'm sorry, we don't provide that service here. See, we don't deal with vagrants anymore. People you can't verify, you don't know who they are, you're never going to see them again. We let our church members do it. He says, yes, from time to time a church member gets burned, but you know what? I've been burned 1,000 times. How many times have you been taken advantage of? How many times? Dozens. Let me give you another church, what they're doing. I'm just trying to give you ideas. Here's another way to combine evangelism and benevolence. Brother Howard Burnett at the Crossville Church, where Brother Barry Kennedy used to preach. Now it's Alan Judd. Good church. And you know what they do? Every Monday evening, they advertise this in the paper. If you need benevolent help, you come to the Crossville Church of Christ Monday evening at 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, they're showing Searching for Truth. And they watch Searching for Truth at 6 o'clock. And after that, you sit down with the individual and say, okay, we're allowed to provide you a scholarship, a voucher. and we can provide up to this much help, and we want to help you. What do you need? And, oh, yes, we'd like to get that help. Well, you come back next week, and we'll do lesson number 2. And they just keep doing Bible study. I said, Brother Howard, I just have a question. I'm a bottom line guy. How well does it work? He said, Rob, we've had 22 participants. Last year we baptized 11. Can I ask you guys a question? When's the last time we had a baptism out of our benevolent program? 11 baptisms? 22 people, 11 baptisms. So there are things we can do, but here's what I'm trying to suggest. We need to combine benevolence with evangelism. Brethren, we are not the soup kitchen. We're not the Lions Club. We're not the Rotary Club. We are the Church of Christ. Our job is to teach the lost. Use benevolence to do evangelism. Why do you think they followed Jesus? Because they knew He cared, but He also taught the people. Combine the two. Let me go to this next one. We got to produce contacts. Benevolence is just, I'm going to give you a lot of things to do. Here's a list of things we can do to produce contacts. Let me go over number 1, house to house, heart to heart. The publication House to House, Heart to Heart is a tremendous asset, a tremendous tool to use when it comes to evangelism. Let me just bring one out and show it to you. I think I've got it on the screen. And let me show you how to use it. Here's what I'm finding. Most churches have no idea how to use this. They're using it as a static program. It's a mailer. They're doing nothing with it. And they're not getting the results they would like. Some get discouraged and just drop it altogether. And I've never understood that. Because I've been using this for 15 years, and we always baptize people every year with this. And I'm asking myself, what am I doing that they're not doing? What's going on? So I began to ask questions. I said, well, how are you using it? Here's our answers I'm getting. Well, we use it once or twice a year. If you're doing that, it's not going to work. Well, we tried it for 6 months, didn't have a baptism, so we dropped it. If you're doing that, it's not going to work. Let me share with you how to use it and get baptisms. In House to House, Heart to Heart, it has a place on the back for you to promote area events. You can promote your vacation Bible school, your gospel meeting, anything you want to promote. It's being mailed out every month at the best. At the worst, every other month, depending on what you want to do. We can do it every month, every other month, and we're advertising what you want on the back. Now, on the front of it, we're advertising the church, your church name, service times, address, what you offer, radio program, TV program, whatever it is. It's on the front. It's going right to their mailbox. Every mailbox it's going to go to. You're going to promote events on the back. Now, the inside, this is where most people drop the ball. On the inside, there are these free offers. Fill this quiz out, we'll send you a DVD. Fill this quiz out, and we'll send you a poster, a timeline, a book. We'll send it to you free of charge. So they fill this out, right? And they mail it to the church, and we get a phone call. Is this House to House, Heart to Heart? Yes, ma'am, it is. My name's Rob Whitaker. Yes, I live in Helena, Montana. We're a Church of Christ. We got somebody here wanting some kind of book. Can you send it to them? They're in Helena, Montana. Why can't they go make a personal visit? Let me tell you what we did. This all happened last year. Now, I want you to understand, I spent 140 nights in a hotel room last year. I'm not at Jacksonville most of the time. So my time to do this is limited. I got a phone call from Deborah Rice. She's the secretary at Jacksonville. She said, hey, Rob, I got somebody who's filled out the quiz offer. They want the poster. She said, should I mail it to them? I said, absolutely not. Well, what do you want me to do with it? I said, I want to hand deliver it. Put it in my box. She said, okay. Nicole and I got in the car, went down, grabbed the poster, and went over and started to look for, her name is Brenda Glaze. I went to the house where I thought the address was. I knocked on the door. No one comes to the door. Man, I've got a few things. I got a few irons in the fire. I said, man, I don't have time for this. Nicole, let's just leave it. No, Rob, you tell people not to do that. But honey, I said, she says, well, come back. So we come back the next day and knock on the door. No one's there. I said, man, does anybody live here? And this neighbor sees me, comes out. Saw you here yesterday. Don't you think neighbors don't watch? Saw you here yesterday. Can I help you? I said, yes, ma'am. Looking for Brenda Glaze. What's the address? You're at Southwest. You got to go across the street. You must be new. Northwest is across the highway. I said, oh, okay. got in my car, went across the street, and I said, well, this must be it, Nicole. And she opens the door. Hello? I said, yes, ma'am. My name's Rob. This is my wife, Nicole. We're with House to House, Heart to Heart, and you asked for this book on marriage. Oh, yeah. Well, you could have mailed it. I said, but then I couldn't have met you. Oh, well, that's real nice. And I said, well, ma'am, I said, is there anything we can help you with? I said, I saw that you're interested in this topic of marriage. Yeah, I just got married. I said, well, congratulations. And hey, she says, do you know anything about the Bible? I said, well, just a little bit. I said, she says, well, good. The man I just married knows nothing about the Bible. And she says, Daniel, get in here. Daniel, get out. Daniel, get up. Daniel's coming to the door. Here comes Daniel. And she said, would you do a Bible study with us? I said, when do you want me to do it? She says, well, whenever. She said, I want you to teach this man the Bible. I've been going to church all my life. He knows nothing about the Bible. And I said, okay. I said, what about tomorrow night? She says, sounds good. So we get together the next night and we start doing our Bible studies. Well, let me just cut to the chase. We baptized her husband, her friend, her brother, and their friend. We did all that from one knock on the door. Now, what would have happened if I didn't knock on the door? What would have happened if I mailed it? What would have happened if I called house to house and said, would you send a book? Brethren, when people make a personal appeal to you, go visit them. I mean, there is not a better prospect out there. They're reaching out to you. And the worst thing we do is, and some of us, you know what we do? We ignore it. We put it on our desk. And we're preachers, and we got bulletin articles to write, and we got sermons to prepare. We've got all this stuff to do, and we're not doing our job. You know what's sad? Do you know, as a preacher, I can fail to have one Bible study all year long. But if I do my sermons and classes and visit the hospitals and take so-and-so to the doctor and make all the sisters happy and keep shaking hands, I'll keep my job. What happens if I missed a couple bulletin articles, but I had 10 Bible studies? Something's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm going to go through some of these real quick. How many of you heard of the annual door knocking day? This is something we started it was spur of the moment last year. Matt Walling said, some of you know Matt. Matt said, hey, what do you guys think if we just sent out a mailer and ask everybody in the church to do door knocking the same day, and let's see what happened. Let me tell you what happened. We had 600 churches of Christ on the same day go out and door knock. Tons of Bible studies, baptisms left and right. We have reports still coming in. I just got a report of another baptism from a sister using Back to the Bible. She found them in the door knocking day. People say, Rob, I had a preacher just tell me, I never would have thought we had 30 people show up. Here's what we're going to do. We're promoting this heavily every year. We're going to promote an annual door knocking day. It's going to be on October 3rd. Can I show you how I would use, let me share with you how I would use house to house, heart to heart if it was me. Here's what I do. We're going to put out a special door knocking edition. So it's perfect for door knocking. On the back, there's going to be a survey with questions that you can ask. You're going to go up to the door, you do this. Hey, my name's Rob, and hey, we've been sending you this for several years. Do you recognize house to house, heart to heart? Yeah, I think so. That's question number 1. And question number 2 is right here too. And there's question number 3, question number 4. And by the way, if they're not home, there's a website. They can answer the questions. This is a door breaker. This is an icebreaker. It cuts through the awkwardness. It gives you something to say. It allows them to connect because you've been sending this for years. And here's one thing you can do as a church. If you're sending house to house, heart to heart, take one issue every year and hand deliver it. You'll be amazed at what happens. Let me tell you about Gary. Gary's just scary. I'm just going to tell you, most women would run if they saw Gary. And Gary, he's been on disability. He's probably in his 50s. He's been on disability for a few years. He actually worked for the state and got ran over with a roller. Can you imagine that? Wow. But he's able to move around. I didn't knock on his door. One of our young men did. Gary comes, hello? And then there's Precious. Precious is a bulldog that looks like it could eat a 300-pound man. I mean, Precious is, she's trying to beat through the door. You know, I mean, Precious is vicious. And he calls her, Precious, now get back, Precious, get back. And Nick is back there like this. Maybe I should run. Should I run or not? And, yeah, can I help you? Yes, sir. My name's Nick. This is, Nick is real, you know, he sees this dog. I'm with House to House, just hand delivering this. Who you with? Well, I'm with Willette Church of Christ. Church of Christ. Grew up in the Church of Christ. Hadn't been in years. Oh, well, could I talk to you a little bit? Yeah, come on in. Well, could you do something with the dog? So he changed the dog. Dog's about to take the whole house down. I mean, changed the dog up, and so dog's chained up. Nick says, man, Rob, you got to get over here. Rob, get over here right now, Rob. So Nick Jones, and so I call, or Sam Jones, one of the Jones boys. So I run over to the house, and there's Gary. So we just start talking. Then we start a Bible study, and then Gary comes forward and is restored. Gary hasn't missed a service since. Now, the ladies don't usually go to Gary's house because of the dog. But I don't go to Gary's house because of the dog. But I would have never met Gary if I didn't do that. I can name you family after family that have been baptized because of that knock on the door. Now let me clear up the fog. Because there's a stigma on door knocking that we've got to get rid of. I am not suggesting door knocking is the best and most effective evangelistic effort you're going to do. Not in any way. In fact, it's probably the least effective thing you'll do. But when you knock doors, you're getting to people that you can't get in any other venue. They're not going to watch the programs. They're not going to read the mail. You don't know them. There's no connection with the church. The only way you get to them is knock on their door. So here's my suggestion. Just once a year. Just once a year. Go to the door and knock. You'll be shocked at what I can tell you this. You'll never be effective if you don't do it. You know what we ought to be doing? We ought to be firing a shotgun, trying to hit as much as we can. This isn't a rifle bullet. This is a shotgun approach. So you combine that with all the things you're doing. Let me show you some other things. This is the New Movers program. How many of you have heard of the New Movers program? Anybody ever hear of it? Best kept secret in the brotherhood. I mean, it is. If you're a business, this is gold. Businesses love this. I don't know if you get a record of who moves into your area. If you can get it, I can give it to you. Okay, this is who moves in. You know why that's good for a business? You want to be the first business they see. Hey, we're your local grocery store. We'd love to have you come over. Oh, by the way, here's a coupon for your first shopping effort. You think you might keep a customer for life if you did that? What about the church? What if we had access to everyone who moved? What if we could give you a website and we could let you type it in and we could zoom into Dunlap and you zoomed in more and we could see where you live. And by the way, there's a little dot a mile away. They just moved there and we can show you their name and address. Do you think that'd be worth something? Do you know at House to House we can do that? It's called the New Movers Program. Guess how much it will cost you? Hold on to your pocketbooks, brothers. $5 a month. $5. $1 per address. And here's what happens. For that $5 and $1 per mail out, we will send them a special New Movers edition. Welcome to the community. 2 weeks later, we're going to follow it up with a postcard that says, would you come visit us? Now, you're going to take that information and you're going to get these ladies at church here, these older ladies that always are asking you to do something. You're going to give them $100. Say, go down here to the dollar store. I want you to get me 10 baskets and 9 things that go in the basket, from paper towels to pine saw to trash bags to Brillo pads. And then inside it, I want you to put a folder that says Dunlap Church of Christ. Here's who we are. Brother Clay, do you have any carpenters at Dunlap? Electricians, builders, plumbers, HVAC? Put your business cards in them. Then make a sheet up. It says something like this. Local fire department, here's the number. Local police department, here's the number. Trash pickup, here's the number. You know why that's all important? I just moved to Jacksonville. I can tell you it's pulling teeth to get that information. You type it in, you got 1,000 pages. I just want to know where to get my trash. I don't know where to put. That's valuable when you move in. Now, you do all that stuff, put it in a basket. Always go as a husband and wife or male and female. Do not men go alone. There's a reason, not just because it puts you in jeopardy with a woman, but it decreases your chance of success. You need a woman with you, okay? You take your wife, preferably. You come up to the door. Again, you knock on it. They open the door. Oh, hey, can I help you? Yes, ma'am. My name is, Bill Brown, whoever. And any of you guys. We know you just moved into the area. We're your neighbor. And we'd like to give you this free gift from the church and say, welcome to the community. And by the way, we've got some stuff in here we thought that might help you. Some names of local services of the city. Man, I've lived here all my life. Dunlap's a great place. And man, don't you love the mountains back here and the weather? And I can tell you kind of where things are at. And we just want to welcome you. You did that for me? How much do I owe you? I've had people try to pay me at the door. I said, nothing. Well, thank you. You're very welcome. And by the way, if you're looking for a church home, we'd love to have you at Dunlap. Information about our churches in there. Thank you. Now, do you think they just might visit? Can I share with you how powerful that is? If you don't believe me, here's David Shannon. People are most likely to change churches when they move. A couple of generations ago, if a couple or a family or an individual moved from one city to another city, they usually stayed with the same denomination. Those days are over. It doesn't matter what denomination they were in the last town. Your average person today is willing to look at any church in their neighborhood. That is a powerful opportunity for evangelism. It doesn't matter to me what church they were a part of in the last town. I want them to visit the Church of Christ because it gives us the best opportunity one day to sit down and study the Word of God. Isn't that good? That's gold. Think about it. They move into the community. You have the map. You can locate them. And you know whose neighbor they are. So you go here to Brother Grace, you've got some people who've moved into your area. Take one of those baskets. Would you go deliver it? And Brother Dearman, you've got somebody just moved down the road. Would you take that basket and go deliver it? Brother Clayton, you can pull it right up on your map, and you know where people live. You know where your members live. And they're your neighbor. And you can go, can you imagine, Brother Simon, can you imagine what would happen? That's good stuff. Let me give you something else you can do. This is called the Card Cultivating Program. So I talked about the compassion cards, prayer. Don't do the bulletin prayer list. That's fine for people, that live wherever. You want a separate list for people who they have cancer, they just got married, you're just having a baby, they just moved into the area, they visited on Sunday morning. A visitor. You put them on the list, and then you get your card team. This is our card team on one night. You see all the ladies love this. See them all? They're lined up in this room. They're filling out their cards, and they're going to mail the cards out. What do you think happens when you do that? Let me tell you about Bettina. This all happened last year. Someone says, well, Rob, how many of these happened recently? Just about all of them. Because here's my theory. If I don't practice this in life, I will quit. This is real for my family. I'm just not here to teach you. If I don't do what I teach, and I'm going to quit. I want you to understand, this is not just something that's a theory. This is happening every month. We're doing this stuff. This right here is Bettina. I'm going to tell Bettina's story because there's a lot we're going to learn from Bettina. I learned from conversions. You can learn a lot from people. Chaplain calls from the local hospital. Hey, guys, we got this lady here, and she has nobody. She put down on her card, contact the Church of Christ, so we're calling you. So we went over to the hospital, we contacted her, and eventually it came to Nicole and I. And I said, well, let's go over and visit this Bettina. So we go over and knocked on her door. We opened the house. Whoa. It's government housing. But a lot of government housing's nice. She's in bad shape. She can't do any laundry. She can imagine. And she can't leave. She has no car. And we just start talking to her. Where'd you come from, Bettina? She tells us. Oh, Hatchie. And I said, okay. Bettina, do you need some help? I sure do. Can you bring me my purse over here? So I bring her purse over, and she opens up her purse. She empties it. Cash is flying out. This is not comfortable. Credit cards are there. She said, would you take that credit card? Nicole said, don't touch that, Rob. We're going to be in the TV news. So I said, no, honey, it's okay. Would you go get me some groceries? I said, be glad to, Bettina. So Nicole and I grab the credit card. We go down to the local grocery store, and we get her groceries. And we come back. And We get her food, and the kitchen's a mess. Bettina, could we help you with the place? She said, I'm just not able. I said, it's okay. Hannah, Jared, get over here right now. And Hannah and Jared come up. We start cleaning it up. Nicole says, can we take your clothes home to launder them, Bettina? She said, well, that would be really nice. She says, I don't have almost anything to wear anymore. I said, it's okay, we'll help you. Bettina started getting better. And one day we were there. She says, can you take me to the Walmart? I need to get some things. And we took her to the Walmart. And she gets herself. She's paying for all this herself. And we're back over to the house. I said, hey, Bettina. I said, we're taking her to church. I said, could I talk to you about the church? Oh, yes. And she has cards all over. Those cards, that's the Compassion Card program. She's been getting them since we met her. She immediately was on our list. I love these cards, Rob. She said, this is the nicest church. I grew up, she said, this is the nicest church I've ever been to. Grew up a Baptist, but went to Ohatchee Church of Christ for 10 years. I said, well, she's probably a member of the church. I don't know. 10 years, right? Okay. I said, Bettina, let's do book 1 together. And we started book 1. She did fine. She could find her books of the Bible. She did well. Went through it and everything went. She goes to church, come back. We do book 2. Everything's going well. And we noticed in book 2, Jared and I noticed. Hey, Jared, you notice Bettina has a hard time breathing in that chair? He says, yeah. She's humped over. Chair is broken down. Hey, Bettina, I noticed you're having a tough time in that chair. She said, oh, yes, I am. I said, hey, Bettina, we'll be right back. Jared and I, this is where elders empower preachers. The elders have told me I can use benevolent funds. I don't have to call a meeting. I went down to Big Lock. I bought her a chair. Jared and I brought it back and put it in there. She sat in it. Her first words when she sat in that chair, I can breathe. She just needed to be upright. And so we go through book 3. I'm going to tell you, I've never seen this happen before. It may never happen again. We're in book 3. We get to Mark 16:16. Bettina says, oh, I know that verse. I said, well, Bettina, go ahead and read it for me. Oh, yes. He that believes is saved and baptized. Huh? Look at her Bible. I said, Bettina, would you read that again? Yeah, oh, yes. I learned this when I was a girl. He that believes is saved and baptized. Now, that is a King James. She says, Rob, is there something wrong with what I'm doing? And I said, Bettina, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at it with your eyes and read it one word at a time. Okay. He that believes and is baptized. That's not what my pastor told me. And I said, well, Bettina, read it again. He that believes and is baptized shall be saved. What do you think Bettina did when she realized she was lost? She was baptized. That's what cards do. They open up the heart. We have baptized so many people, just opening up the heart. Can I share something else that really bothers me? Brethren, how in the world does someone go to a Church of Christ for 10 years and never have a Bible study? I asked, Bettina, how long do you go to that church? 10 years? How often? Every Sunday. And we wonder why we're dying. No Bible study. They ever help you benevolence? Oh, yeah, they help me all the time. What good does it do to fill her stomach if she's lost? We got to do Bible studies, brothers. We have got to do Bible studies. Let's keep going. What about visitors? We should never allow a visitor to come into our assembly without getting information about them. How do you do that? Well, people don't fill out the cards. We all know that, right? Half of them don't fill it out. Our people don't even fill it out. Most of us have stopped doing cards because they don't do it. Well, here's what you do. What you need to do, you need to assign a family here, 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 back there. You need 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 families. And you say, hey, you're in charge of visitors. When a visitor comes in and sits in your section, I want you to go get a visitor bag. I want you to come up to them and say something like this. Hey, my name's Rob. I notice you're visiting with us this morning. And may I ask your name? Yeah, my name is Bill. It's my wife, Susie. I said, well, it's good to have you all this morning. Are you guys from the local area? And yes, sir. And we just moved in down the road. We've got this special bag, and it has pens and tablets and some information about the church and got some candies in it and stuff. We like to get, oh, by the way, I've got this card. Would you fill this card out here while I'm waiting? And then you take the card back. And then you make sure you get it to the preacher or the secretary or the elder so we have a record. And guess what I'm going to do on Monday morning? I'm making a personal visit. Ain't that simple? Do you know we have churches of Christ that allow visitors to go in and out of their church building? We never get their phone number. We never get their address. We have no idea where they came from. We never see them again. That should never happen. When a customer comes into your store, you want their information. Oh, you want it. What about meals? What about just inviting people out to eat? What about just saying to visitors, hey, would you like to go out to eat this afternoon? What about having people in our homes? Powerful stuff. What about using Gospel Broadcasting Network? Or have you guys ever, I ask this in every church, have you ever called GBN and said this, has anyone in our area contacted you or asked for information? I was in a church recently and the preacher said, Rob, we've never done that. He calls me back a month later, they baptized 2 people from just doing that. In other words, there are people that are watching the programming you don't know, but they live in your city and you don't even know about it. What about community outreach? Some churches do this, some don't, but I can tell you, Jacksonville, 4 times a year, the members put a big meal together for the community. We baptized the whole family doing that. Now, there's a way to do it and be effective, and there's a way to do it and waste time. Let me show you how to waste time. Hey, glad to see you. Name's Rob. Good to have you here. Hey, name's Rob. Glad to see you here. So glad you're here. Name's Rob. Enjoy the meal. Good to see you. That is a complete waste of time. Can I show you how to make it effective? If you're going to do this, this is what we do. Name's Rob. What's your name? Can I eat with you, Freddie? Sure. I'm going to sit down with Freddie for 40 minutes, and I'm going to eat, and I'm going to get to know him, and I'm going to ask every member to do the same. You're going to find somebody. You're going to find somebody you can study the Bible with. It may not be the person I sit with. But if all you do is, and this is what we normally do, we just go around, shake everybody's hand, and thank them for coming. That does nothing. Sit down with them and invest in them. And you might have a baptism. This chart is in the folder that some of you men received. This chart is in there. Can I share with you what this is? Let's just suppose if we focused on visitors, we had 2 or 3 baptisms a year. People sitting in our pews. Let's suppose we focus on new movers. A couple baptisms a year. Let's suppose we used a benevolent program, tied it to evangelism. A few baptisms a year. That's not unreasonable, is it? Couple baptisms a year. Okay, let's suppose we used a house-to-house, heart-to-heart. A few baptisms a year. Let's suppose we used compassion cards. 3, 4 baptisms a year minimum. What would happen if you added all those together? Brethren, the battle has not been lost. We can still grow. That's what we experience commonly in churches that do this stuff. Now, you can't just do one. If you do one, minimal investment gives you minimal results. You got to shoot the shotgun. You got to make it your mission. We're going to do everything in our power to be bringers. Bring them in. And you're going to get a baptism here, a baptism over there, a baptism here. And instead of having 1 or 2 baptisms or 3 and 4 a year, you're going to have 15, 20. In fact, one church called me last year. They said, Rob, we had 22 baptisms this year. We haven't had that many in the last 5 years. He said, I want you to know, we set our goal this year at 30. They were a congregation of 60 people in the middle of nowhere. Morganton, Georgia, call them. Just call them and ask. In the middle of nowhere. You're not in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of places would give a lot to have just a Dollar General. You've got several of them. All right? I mean, you're right here. You got everything. You got every tool you need. All right. Here, let me real quickly go through these last 4 real quick. You got to populate your list. Hot, warm, cold. Who are your contacts? Do you have any contacts right now? My son walks into my office. He said, Dad, I saw your contact list has changed. I have a whiteboard in my office. I put names on it. You know why I do that? So I don't forget about them. So I walk in, I got Perry and Ellen. You know who Perry and Ellen are? Can I tell you about them? She came in and visited. And I can hardly differentiate a member from a visitor at Jacksonville because I'm not there enough. I said, Alan, is that a visitor? Yeah, she is, Rob. So I immediately go up to her. I said, hey, my name's Rob. You're visiting this morning? Yeah, my name's Ellen. I said, man, Ellen, it's good to have you. And do you enjoy services today? Sure did. Where do you live, Ellen? Just down the road. Man, it's great to have you here. We'd like to invite you back. She said, do you have services on Sunday night? I said, sure do. 6 o'clock, we'd like to have you come back. She said, well, I just might come. You know what she did? She came back. 6 o'clock. Went back to Nicole and I. Now, I'm getting Nicole over, and we're talking to Ellen. And then the next Sunday, her husband comes. Now her husband's here. He's got Parkinson's, but he's still able to function. And so he's here, and we're talking. And I say, hey, guys, would you like to go out to lunch with us? Our treat. Oh, you don't have to do. Oh, we'd love to get to know you. So we go out to lunch. We start talking with Perry and Ellen, and he mentions football. He loves football. And I said, man, when I bought this house, Perry, they had a movie room in it. I would have never done this. It's an incredible, huge movie screen. I said, how would you like to come over tomorrow night and watch the Clemson football game with me? He said, really? I said, yeah. And that big screen? I said, absolutely. Man, we'd love to come. So Nicole fixes a big, football spread, dips and chips and appetizers and sandwiches, and they come on over, and we're eating together and, man, having a good time. I said, oh, by the way, Perry, where did y'all go to church? He said, well, I'm a Methodist. Little upset with them right now. I said, I can understand why. And she said, well, I'm a Baptist. Man, we're looking for some preaching, probably. It's all fluff and puff now. And I said, well, I can understand. And can I ask you guys why you came to Jacksonville Church of Christ? Well, in 1999, we moved here, and we got this little publication called House, Heart to Heart, and we love it. We read it all the time, and we decided we needed to go to a church, so we decided to come to House, Heart to Heart church. I said, oh, just wanted to know. Now, Sunday morning, I teach the new converts class. I call it the first principles class when they're not Christians. Hey, Perry and Ellen, would you come into my class Sunday morning? They're going to come. In fact, I just got a text for her at lunch. Can't wait to see you, Rob. I said, can't wait to see you guys either. How close do you think we are to a Bible study right now? Really close. I'm not a prophet. Don't pretend to be one. Just common sense tells me, give me a month, they'll be Christians. Just give me 1 month. I just got to get 3 studies with them. That's how this works. It's real simple stuff. Easy stuff. And here it is. You got to have a target. Brethren, write down names. And on my whiteboard is Perry and Ellen Bethea. And I got 7 other names written on it. And I'm looking for them all the time. And you know what? Sometimes I go to bed and have nightmares about these people because I know they're lost. And Rob, what have you done? Nothing. It's on my shoulders. It's my responsibility. And I tell elders all the time, I say, get yourself a whiteboard in your elder's office, and you put the names of everyone sitting in your pew that's not a Christian, and I want you to sweat about it. You ask yourself, what have I done to help them go to heaven? I used to do that all the time as a preacher. I could sit here and tell you story after story about people. When I started this at Willette, when I went to an elders meeting one time, and by the way, let me just move forward. Get everybody involved. And this is the bringers, keepers, teachers. You got to get everybody involved. Very important that you involve the older ladies, the young people. You know, that card program, everybody does that. I mean, anyone can do that. The new movers, 1 Corinthians 12:14, for the body is not one member but many. You got to get people participating. It's a congregational event, not just preachers and elders. Prioritize. So I went into an elders meeting, and I said, brethren, would you let me chair this meeting? I said, I have something I want to try. They said, sure, Rob, you're welcome to. I said, let's talk about evangelism first. Now, brethren, I've been going to elders meetings a long time. May I share with church members what normal elders meetings look like? Jim, you've been to a lot of elders meetings here. Tell me if I'm wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong. Well, guys, we got the roof again. It's leaking. Who's going to take that one? Yeah, parking lot needs recovered. You know, if we don't recover that parking lot, we'll have to replace the whole thing. Do you know how expensive asphalt is today? And you know, paint's looking pretty bad out there in the fellowship. Got to paint it. You know, if we don't get the pews, if we don't get these pews cleaned up, you know, we spend lots of money on this upholstery. We got to get somebody, and the carpets are looking kind of shaggy. And, oh, Jim, you didn't shake Sister Susie's hand. She's upset at you right now. Would you call her this afternoon? Just go by and say, I love you, and everything's okay. And don't forget, Brother Brown, you know, so-and-so's in the hospital now. You know he likes to see you. If you don't go see Brother Brown, he probably won't come for a week. So make sure. That's an elders meeting. I said, brethren, I looked at my elders, and I love my elders. They're my best friends. I texted one last night from Willette. So I saw Brother Grace. Because he's from that area, and he said, say hello. How many people are sitting in our pews right now every Sunday that are lost? They said 5 men. We baptized all 5 of them in 6 months. Do you know why we hadn't baptized them before? Because they weren't on our target list. We just kept letting them come. I could tell you how I did that. I do it very similar with everybody. I get them in my home. I have meals. I have Bible studies. I visit with them. I build a relationship with them, and I do a Bible study. I do the same thing for just about every person. And in fact, I had one elder say, now, Rob, be careful because he might get offended and not come back, and we wouldn't want to do that. He's no worse off. He's lost. He is lost. And keeping our silence and holding back isn't going to help him. We baptized all 5 of them doing that. I wish I had time to tell you some of these stories because they're just they're meaningful and they help, but I'm running out of time. Publicize. Brother Clayton and for the eldership, get in this pulpit and talk about evangelism. Talk about it. Tell the church. Here there's nothing wrong with doing this. Hey, you're in Sunday night. This morning we had so-and-so visiting. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with Brother Clayton to say, look up there and say, hey guys, would you shut the internet off? They can shut it off. We got to have a family talk. Let's talk to family. We have a member of our community, and let's talk about it. I don't know why we don't do that. I don't understand why evangelism is kept quiet. We should be talking about it from the pulpit. Now, if you want to write this down, you can. I didn't originate with me. What gets pushed gets praised. And what gets praised gets pushed. If you don't push it, if you don't praise it, it won't get pushed. If you don't talk about it, it will die as quickly as you start it. You got to talk about the card program every Sunday. You got to talk about the New Movers program every Sunday. You got to talk about your evangelism materials every Sunday. You got to talk about benevolence. You got to talk about whatever it is, house to house. You got to keep talking about it all the time. Because brethren, forget and pray. I'll end with this. And I don't know that if I've ever heard a prayer where we failed to say this. Lord, keep us safe. Oh, Lord, help us get home safely. Keep us safe, Lord. Keep us. We are always praying for the Lord to keep us safe. When is the last time you heard this prayer? Lord, we pray for Jimmy and Sharon Fisher. We're in a Bible study right now, and we pray for them. We pray that the Word would work on their heart. Lord, we pray that you would give us opportunity, help us find other people to study with. Isn't it interesting that we'll never miss a prayer about our safety? But when's the last time we prayed specifically about evangelism? We named somebody. We're scared to death to do it. The first time I did that at Jacksonville, my son said he looked up and people looked like they're going to fall out of their pews. I named somebody. I named Bettina. I had people come up to me after my prayer. I don't want any recognition. Rob, who's Bettina? I said, let me tell you about her. A few months ago, I got a phone call. Hey, Rob, you need to come to Bettina's house. I said, what's wrong? She's blue. She didn't make it. Thank God she didn't stay at Ohatchee. Thank God. Brethren, there's 10 things you can do. House to house, heart to heart school of evangelism will give you the support to do it. I'm going to sit down with your elders, some of your deacons, preachers, whoever, but members here because you're enrolled. And I'm going to give you a concise way to do this. I'm going to walk you through it. It won't take us 20 minutes. And I'm going to give you a roadmap, give you some special stuff. If you'd like to enroll in the School of Evangelism, I'd be glad to come to your church and train them and teach them, give them the equipment, provide the tools, whatever it is, technical support. We'll give you 12 months of service. And we'll try our best to help you get on the path to conversion. And you've given up a lot of time, and I thank God for you. And brethren, I hope together one day we'll be able to see a lot of souls in heaven because of things like this. And may God bless you. Thank you.